Welcome back to another edition of Nothing Exceptional. It's the name of the channel, in case you didn't know. We are here with Tony Kupcho, am I saying that correctly?
Yep.
From Kupcho Cosplay. How does being an engineer help you with some of your creations?
Well, from the get-go, thinking about the design, you want it to work, right? So when I'm working on something like armor or a prop or something, you actually have to consider the mechanical properties of it. Because a lot of times you see big hokey armor where you put it on and then you can't move around. So from the start, I think, how am I going to move this limb, or is this going to limit my range of motion too much? Then there's also putting it on and taking it off, factors like that, which when you go at something from an engineering standpoint, you kind of consider the actual process.
When you're doing that sort of cosplay, what do you actually draw your inspiration from? Do you like something architectural, something old and mechanical? Because if it's steampunky, in my head I keep thinking it has to look old and new at the same time.
So, steampunk as an aesthetic, or a lot of it's the genre, because a lot of it originated from novels. People draw inspiration from Jules Verne, or getting more eclectic with H.P. Lovecraft with the more ghouly things.
So something like this.
Something like that.
Your mind flayer.
Right. It gets a little bit more fantastical, but it's drawing from an alternate history, right? So you want that sense of antiquity, but also the fantasy.
What other amazing steampunk creations have you done? Is that your favorite genre? Or do you not have a genre that you're leaning towards?
Well, some of my other projects, the first thing I built was this mechanical arm piece. I did that back in high school while I was on a robotics team. And it was just really basic brown leather cut with, really dull knives, poorly stitched together. But I got a lot of interest for it, especially going to competitions and things. And this wasn't for cosplay. This was me wanting to dress up to go to a robotics competition. I don't know whether or not viewers would have heard of the first program, but it was part of that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, it's a good program for high schools who want to get into STEM fields. Anyway,
What's a STEM field?
science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
So that's for engineers. Pay attention, kids.
But yeah, so that really, it's a good feeling to get noticed in a crowd. After that, I got a little bit more advanced. I made some really nice gauntlets, all still leather, but more mechanical. I added in some knuckle pieces, and that was the first project I actually did leather stamping with. So, each thing I make, I try to get a little bit better at. Right? Other projects, my guitar amp oscilloscope.
Yes, what exactly do you use that for?
Well, I am not very musical myself, but I have a couple of friends who do stage performances, and a few of them are kind of more steampunky. So with the dual monitors, you can put on a single display, and then the bottom screen will show the sine waves of any sound input that you have. So while they're playing guitar or singing, you can actually watch how the sound would actually look. Or you can hook it up to an Atari 2600 and just see how that looks.
So what if you had like a Pac-Man game playing? What would your waves look like?
So for the Pac-Man game, those sounds are artificially made, so their curves are much more basic. normal sound has all sorts of fluctuations in it, from your voice and outside interference. But because that's made just through circuitry, it literally the sound just comes out as a nice curvature because of the combination of the capacitors and the resistors built into the sound chip.
I don't know what any of that means.
While we're still on the steampunk topic, describe what you did for Dead Man's Carnival.
Oh, sure. Well, start off. So, Dead Man's Carnival is a group of performers in Milwaukee who put on a monthly show at a couple of different locations. So, there's a couple of different venues you can check out and see them at.
So I did one performance where I did an experiment with some dry ice where added steaming hot water to it, filled up the stage with
Scooby-Doo fog.
Yeah, which was more impressive during practice, but it was just a lot of fun being on stage for that.
So, what type of work do you actually do in the cosplay community?
So, for my steampunk stuff, it's a lot of original characters, either based on something I read or I had some parts lying around, so I wanted to put something together. Those I would describe more as assemblies of different parts, because once you make some cuffs or put a hat together or like a harness, you can kind of mix and match depending on what you get access to.
Let's talk about some of your D&D stuff now.
Oh, sure. So when you met me at Wizard World Con was my Mind Flayer costume, which is based on a character called Alcazar the Cruel, who, for a game I was running, was the big bad evil guy. Yeah. And so I had the mask commissioned by CFX. A little expensive, but they're a professional studio, and it's really well made.
It came out really nice, yeah.
Thank you.
Is that a local group, or is
I
that
believe they're located in Louisiana.
Louisiana?
But I have to check on that.
free plug?
So yeah, with the character, most of the cosplay for it was really being an alien type of creature, right? So I don't know if you can really see it too much on camera here, but there's a complete muzzle.
Can I?
Oh, sure.
We'll just do a close-up for everyone else. A muzzle.
So it's kind of hard to talk or communicate with that. So a lot of it is in the body acting and not voice work, but noises. So trying to convey emotions with limited facial mobility, but her body posture being a creep, right? Because that's how the character was.
Yes, you looked much shorter the last time. Now, you also brought other things.
Right.
Did you want to show those? Or?
Sure, I can go through the costume for it.
Now, is this your Friday night date wear, or what is this?
No.
No. So this was my original Necromancer costume, which combined it with the Mind Flayer for convenience. This one is actually made out of mostly recycled material, which I was kind of proud of. But that also makes the cosplay economic, because certain things you can spend a lot of money on. So if you can figure out where to get material, makes it.
And this
a bit
is still
easier.
for like your Dungeons and Dragons stuff.
Yep. I'm also in a LARP group. We can talk about that in a second.
Deep Light, correct?
Yep. Deep Light chapter of Grimoire, which is Milwaukee based.
So this costume, the original inspiration was the Scottish long kilts, because it's dark and foreboding to have a long piece of fabric. Because also I'm not very good at sewing, so pants were
Me too.
intimidating. like working on pants. So a kilt though seems like something I could do. So getting started with it, I just picked up a few yards of plain black fabric from Joann's, and the rest of this though is all from different recycled material.
So what is this from?
So this black leather is actually from an old grill cover. So yeah, my dad just got a new grill. He threw out the old cover, and I looked at it and I'm like, that's a nice piece of material I could work with. So I cut out, a rectangle sheet of it and saved it for a while, and then this project came along and I thought, oh, that would be perfect.
What inspired it to look like this with the loops and the
So
else?
a lot of the artwork from Wizards of the Coast for necromancers or dark mages or that kind of stuff kind of leans more into that BDSM kind of stuff, scrappy metal work, that kind of stuff.
About your Friday night.
Right. So I just wanted to build like a basic sort of pattern into it. Now the rest of this, all of these metal rings
Yeah.
are actually shower curtain rings that I picked up at a Goodwill.
Nice.
I got a bag, like a literal bag of about 30, 40 rings, which if you were to go to, a hardware store and pick up would be $3 or $4 a piece. The whole bag of that cost me about $6. So that's another reason to, shop around and
Yeah. One of the
Things I can
benefits right there is cosplaying on a budget right there. So for beginning cosplayers, you forgot what you can really look at. That's always a good thing. Thrift stores, and where else would you say?
Thrift stores, sometimes, well, in modeling you would call it kit bashing, but I mean, if you have like some stuff you're not using, but you're like, oh, I really like the sleeves off of this. I've taken leather jackets and just cut them into bits and pieces, and I was able to reuse them because, well, skill building.
What else do you have going on with this?
So this skull piece, this was actually, this was a Halloween decoration that I actually pulled out of the garbage. It was a big skull that was broken because Halloween vandals. But I like the look of it. So I took a plastic cutter and I just sheared it off into a flat surface, and with a hole punch I was just able to put in enough to secure it onto a piece of leather.
Your sewing looks better than mine would.
Thank you. And this patch of leather actually is off of a purse. So if you're starting off with leatherworking and you need metal or other pieces of decoration, I would actually suggest going to a second-hand shop and seeing if they have any purses, because there's all sorts of metal bits and bobs that are built on, like, well, these chains, for example, all still in perfect condition that would cost you a lot more if you bought them new.
All right. So when we talked before, but not on camera, you were saying you also had a elf costume in the works. Did you happen to bring like your concept art?
I did not.
Damn you!
So for the elf druid I'm working on, I have some deer hide, which is currently being processed by a local Milwaukee group. I don't know if they want me to advertise, so I'll leave them out.
Okay.
So they're processing the fur and the leather for it, and from that I'm going to be making some sort of tribal armor pads.
And you said that's from the deer hide also?
Yes.
Okay. At a space cadet.
Space locally. But yeah, so for that I'm going to try and use as much of it as possible, because working with real hide, real leather is very expensive. So that cosplay alone is going to probably cost me around $400 just for the upper body.
Wow.
Right. The rest of the outfit I'm working on some bits of assembly that part of it's going to be commissioned, part of it's going to be self-made, because there are certain things that I'm not necessarily the best at, and I'd rather farm that out to a professional rather than wade my way through it, waste a lot of effort. Big thing is just knowing your limits and moving along.
But it sounds like you've learned a lot.
Oh,
Doing like
definitely learned a
leatherworking
lot.
and everything.
Yep. Literally, my first outfit started with I had a hammer and a punch kit and some scrap. From there, I had enough confidence practicing to keep stepping up from there. It's a really expensive thing to have to practice, but once you get good at it and you do it consistently, you build these skills and you impress people.
Sweet. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about? Any other projects?
Well, I'm going to have to give a shout out to the Deep Light chapter of Grimoire. I'm going to start. Sorry. I'm going to give a shout out to the Deep Light. Wow, Deep
Happens
Light.
all the time.
Deep light?
I'm going to give a
Deep light.
blah.
Say it a few times. Deep light.
Deep Light. Deep Light. Deep Light. Okay. I'm going to give a shout out to the Deep Light chapter of Grimoire in Milwaukee. I've recently joined them as a LARPer. It's a really fun group, and if you happen to be around Milwaukee, you should come by and check out some of their events.
Well, thank you again, Tony. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
And then if you have any other projects, you know how to get a hold of me. Until next time, be good to each other, kids.
See ya.